minimum intelligence to make sense of it. And that is the important. That if he hears something, he is able to process it and he is able to make sense of it. And then Vidwan. And why this word Vidwan is saying that because he has some basic study already with him. Because directly jumping into Vedanta may not make any sense and everybody doesn't enjoy it. So if somebody has done some bit of studies and a bit of interest in this philosophical material, the whole set of ideas, philosophy, then perhaps he is in a better position. If he's starting from the scratch, he would be in deep pools. He will not make any sense of it. Therefore, there is some prior learning which is being emphasized here by saying Vidwan. And then he's saying Uha Poha Vichakshana. Uha Poha in Sanskrit. You might specially underline this word and write the ability to accept and reject. Uha Poha. You have that discrimination. There's this famous statement about Amartya Sen, who finished apparently his MA in economics from Cambridge in a record time. And then somebody was asking him, how did you manage it? He said, I knew what not to read. It was I was very selective. I read the best material, but I did not read too many books. And I didn't want to read the same thing in 20 books because my time was very limited. So I was very focused on what I was doing. So that Uha Poha Vichakshana, that means that this guy is a bit trained in Tarka, in Sankhya, some basic ideas he knows, he's very sharp. And then there's a beautiful sentence we had read about who is the philosopher king in Plato's eyes. And one of the authors who writes about Plato's ideas, he mentions that Plato believed that the philosopher king should be somebody who is eager to know and quick to understand. Beautiful combination and lovely sentence. And eager to know, he has that desire to learn and he's quick to understand. So it doesn't take too much time. That kind of a thing. So he's Medhavi, he's Vidwan, and he's Uha Poha Vichakshana. He's not somebody who is a dull-minded person. And then what? Adhikari Atma Vidyayam. So this is the guy who is the right kind of adhikari. He deserves to be there. Where? In Atma Vidyayam. Ukta Lakshana Lakshitaha. And that particular person, when I'm mentioning the word Medhavi Purusho Vidwan, Uha Poho Vichakshanaha. He's very intelligent, very sharp. He's a very smart guy. And does it mean that actually the common masses do not have access to divinity? They do not have access to Atmagyana? No, that's not what is meant here. Because here all these things we are mentioning are not about academic intelligence or smartness. The smartness that you need to be a great nuclear scientist is different from the smartness a person needs to be a great saintly person or to understand the meaning of life, because the games are different. The process of learning is different. The goal of your life is also much different. So, of course, you have to have the basic intelligence, but I have seen people actually develop it. I know quite a few monks here who came here, they're school dropouts, and they are wonderful students of Vedanta because their minds are completely focused, and so they study. And I once met one Maharashtrian. Everybody was praising him that he's best in Nyaya Sastra. I talked to him, and he revealed to me that he ran away from home because he could not complete his 10th. But he was considered to be the best student of Nyaya Sastra, which was very difficult, but he was playing around with it. So it's not that somebody is not intelligent or anything, it's about how much intelligence we actually employ to get into the subject matter which we want to deal with. So a lot of these people, what is glorified here is it's not super elitist, or it's not saying that you have to have a lot of gray matter, you have to be a very smart guy, an IITN or something, to be able to understand Vedanta. The purpose is not necessarily that, but yes, the Vedanta path is definitely meant for people who are a little above the normal minds. because everybody would not find it interesting. That's what is given and it's understood. Others are there, other paths are there, karma yoga and bhakti yoga. Even proper Raja Yoga is also there, which doesn't require too much of a thinking mind, a contemplative mind. But if you want to be in vichara, of course, you require a lot of vichara. You would need a lot of, the ability to read, to understand, to analyze, to meditate on it. So obviously, you know, so it's very clear they're looking for very bright souls who can actually get into it. Divinity, experience to God, self realization. No, it can be with anyone. Thakur had not studied in college, right? So it's very, I mean, Ramana Maharshi did not go to any university. They had sharp understanding. All their understanding and their consciousness was completely focused on the fundamental questions which troubled them. So it's not about bookish intelligence or academic intelligence. It's all about that sharpness of attention, that open-minded contemplation, which leads a person from confusion to absolute clarity through a process of meditation. Vivekinaha, in the verse number 17, is saying, Vivekinu virattasya shamadhi gunashalinaha mumukshorevahi brahma jigyasa yogyatas mata. Now he's clarifying who is the adhikari, who is the guy who can succeed. He first mentioned 3-4 words. He should be Medhavi, Purusha, Vidwan, Uhapoha, Vichakshanaha. Okay, so this is a general qualification. 18 years of age, healthy man with a basic good degree in school. Then you can enter some higher education course or you can join the army, right? Doesn't mean you will get selected. You need a few other qualifications when you go for, this is for, screening. The next round is looking at the more serious criteria where they want to shortlist you. First they do a screening, then they do shortlisting after first round. So in shortlisting, what are the qualities the Acharya, the tradition values in Vedanta? He's saying Vivekinaha. First thing, that he has Viveka. So his sadhana chatushtayi we're going to discuss slowly. Vivekinaha viraktasya. Uske paas vivek, he has Viveka and he has Vairagya. He has detachment. He has a great sense of discrimination. What is Nitya and Anitya? That we'll discuss. Shamadhi gunasalinaha. Samadamadi satka sampati. So 6 great wells that a good student of Vedanta should have. He also has it. And fourth, mumukshu. And then he must have also strong desire for liberation. He doesn't want to hang around here. Therefore, he has a strong desire for liberation, mumukshu. Evahi Brahma Jigyasa. Only for the guys who have these 4 minimum qualifications. Brahma Jigyasa Yogyata. So they deserve to have an interest in Vedanta, Brahma Jigyasa. Brahma Sutra, first one, Athato Brahma Jigyasa. And therefore now we are going to discuss and delve into the matter called the self. What is the self? The Vedanta, the Upanishadic text says so many things that students are confused. Therefore, let's get into it. Vadarayana says in the first verse, so mumukshuhu evahi brahma jigyasa yogyata mata. So this is what he's saying, that without it, there will be, and then, there are so many things. What is that Brahma jigyasa? Brahma jigyasa means Brahmana jigyasa. The desire, the curiosity, the aspiration to understand about Brahman. What is that Brahman? And till you have that realization, till you have that Brahma prapti of Brahma jnana, so you have a strong desire to keep you moving on that path of contemplating on that truth. Okay, so not everybody has it. Is now establishing another set of rules saying that you should have sadhana chatushtaya sampannata. And what are these sadhana chatushta? We'll see in the next verse. There is a beautiful word he's using. Etadrisa vichara janani ya ichha. कौन सा इच्छा that mumukshu, that mumuksha you have, जो विचार आत्मा क्या है, what is that self that we want to do. There is a mother of this contemplation, this vichara, this analysis, and that mother is a strong aspiration, desire for liberation, for overcoming this whole sansara where there is a strong dissatisfaction, restlessness, an element of anxiety. If a person is very happy, everything is going fine, why should you unnecessarily waste time with Vedanta? It's absolutely not required. Very honestly speaking, spirituality is made for whom? People who feel there is some gap in their lives. It's not meant for people who are happy go lucky types. They can do bhakti and karma and all, that's not a problem. The problem starts when, despite having things, you are doing everything, you are happy with everything, but you see there's some gap. You feel some vacuum, you feel a little an element of meaninglessness. That's why you want to enter into it. But if you're already happy with it, the mother finds the baby is happy with the doll, she will go to the kitchen and start cooking, as Thakur says. If the baby is not happy with the doll, mother tries to find out why the baby isn't happy, what else can be given. The baby needs an aeroplane, a remote control aeroplane. She gives the aeroplane, which is remote control. Baby is happy, mother goes back to the kitchen or goes back to her study to read and write and do whatever she was doing. Same with all of us. If there is that desperation, that restlessness to be looking for something, to find out something about ourselves, that adhikar is in there. And therefore saying, etadasa vichara janani ya ichha tatra yogyata viveka sadhana yutasya eva. So, not for everyone, but the one who has these four qualifications. And what is this? He will say in the next verse, साधनान्यत्र चत्वारि कथितानि मनीषिभिः येषु सत्स्वेव सन्निष्ठा यदभावेन सिद्ध्यति. The words are there with sandhis, so we'll break and understand. Sadhanani anyatra. Sadhanani, not anyatra. Sadhanani atra. Here in this prakarana, what are the sadhanani? Sadhana means bahuvachana. How many sadhanas? What are the things which is a means to achieving self-realization in the Vedantic path? And that's being explained. Chatwari, four of them are there. Kathitani, this has been mentioned. By whom? Manishivihi. Now he's glorifying. It's not mentioned by everybody, Tom, Dick, and Harry. We give a lot of importance to something which is mentioned by people like Warren Buffett on investments or portfolio management because he's been one of the historically great investors. If somebody talks about innovation, okay, there are characters like Elon Musk or other people. When they say something about innovation, other people listen because they are innovators. Now he is saying Manishi Vihi. Manishi, he has a certain sharp wisdom which is unequal compared to the normal wise guys in society. That's why it's called Manishi. He is again deliberately giving extra importance to the choice of the sadhana chatushtaya as qualifications. This is not as per the whims and fancies of one particular acharya or a government department or a minister or prime minister. This is discussed, deeply thought about, based on experience of hundreds and thousands of years of this whole spiritual tradition. The great men in this tradition have opined and they have stated that these four qualifications are extremely important. If you are trying to find out a good match, a good fit between the aspiring student and his desire for self-realization. That is what is being mentioned here. Sadhanani atra chatvari kathitani. Okay, so yeah, So kathitani manishivihi yesu sasveva sannishta. Jinme they have the sannishta. Yesu sasu. So whenever you have these four sadhanas or qualifications available with a person, if you have these four qualifications present in a person, then sannishta, he will have interest. Sannishta means sat nishta. Nishta in sat, that means Brahman, Atma here. Sannishta. He would have some nishta in understanding about that sat vastu, the Brahman. Not all. If he has these four qualifications, definitely be interested. Like in we have studied in school, we studied, right? So you have this something called the half-life, studied in chemistry, and how you suddenly reach that moment, right? Then this whole process starts, the nuclear reaction. So we use a word in management called critical mass. You need a few things, then you reach a particular state of expansion and growth, beyond which further expansion, consolidation, and growth of a factory or a company becomes almost automatic, becomes smoother. That's what is hinted here. Similarly, these four sadhanas, if you have them, the next logical thing is that the person will definitely be interested in knowing about the meaning of life and contemplating on the meaning of the self. Do not have this four qualification, logically doesn't follow. यद अभावे न सिद्ध्यति, वो चार नहीं है, आत्मज्ञान का निष्ठा सिद्ध न हो पाएगी. It's not easy. That is what he's saying. And why does that happen? So there's a lot of philosophical hair splitting in the commentary. I'm not getting into that, but I'll just tell you there's a particular vichara in our tradition, and this word you may like to note down or something. There's something called Anvaya Vyatireka. Okay, what is that Anvaya Vyatireka? Mrit Sattve Ghata Sattvam, right? So if you have clay, you can have a pot, and Mrid Abhave, you don't have any clay. Can you make a pot? You cannot have. Pata Bhavaha. If you have gold, you can have a necklace. Out of gold, a golden necklace. If you do not have gold, you cannot have a golden necklace. Now you twist it. Gold can be there without a necklace. Karya Bhave, Karana can be there. But Karana Abhave, Karyam na siddhyati. You cannot have work. If you have a cake made of some dough, some flour and some chocolate and this and that, you make a cake. Now, if you can have flour and cake and chocolate, everything, flour and chocolate and baking agents, everything in your kitchen, but you don't have a cake. But if you want to have a cake, those things should be there, right? So here, sadhana chatushtaya, the four qualifications, are in the karana koti, in the causal domain. The effect domain, the outcome domain, is this jnana siddhi, jnana agraha, jnana nishtha, the desire to get engaged in. Therefore, what he's saying is that without this sadhana chatushtaya, impossible that a person would be successful in Vedanta. He might read it academically, will not make much progress. It's impossible almost. I'm just reading a very interesting book by somebody from Lucknow in Hindi about a person called Uriya Baba who sort of ran away from Puri to Kasi. And nobody knows him, but he spent a lot of his time in Bengal. And he was also arrested by the police a couple of times because he participated in the, he fought against the partition of Bengal in 1910. And then he became a monk. So he spent a lot of his years in Bengal and in Orissa, but he came to ultimately Kasi, and he moved around here and he gave his commentaries. He became famous as Uriya Baba. And he has such a vairagya that once he got into a train and forget where to get off. He was going to Kasi, but he went till Chapra in Bihar, and the TT came and slapped him and misbehaved with him. Rest of his life, he walked. He never ever got into a train. He got into a train only last time and first time in the last year of his life. And he lived a very rigorous, very different life. And so a lot of people saw him as kind of an embodiment of Vedanta. He was not a great scholar. He had studied Vedanta in and out, but people used to go to him to understand what is the central message of Vedanta. It's not well known except around Kasi. In North India, he is very popular among the serious sannyasi traditions. He's given a lot of importance for his dedication. So he was a bit like Thakur, in Vedanta. Lived an extremely simple life, couple of clothes, and in fact, one of his sishyas killed him, and he didn't even oppose. He got angry and hit him with something because that sisya was fanning him. One outsider came, he wanted to fan him, and the fan was given to that outsider, and that sisya got very angry that I want to do seva. Why should one outsider get a privilege of fanning this guru? And he hit him. He thought that his guru was being cruel, unkind to him, and he died. And that poor Shishya was also killed by others. But the kind of life he lived, a lot of people saw that he was living with God 24 hours. He absolutely had nothing in this sansara. He was not interested in anything. He would not accept anything from anyone. So, that particular thing is not possible unless somebody has the sadhana chatushtaya. Academic grasp, there are a lot of professors, excellent professors here and abroad in Vedanta, but they are not tattvadarshis. Jnaninaha tattvadarshinaha upadikshyanti de jnanam. Now, they are definitely jnanis in a certain sense. They have parokya jnana, they have wonderful understanding about the Vedantic texts. But tattvadarshana is a different ball game where you perceive the truth directly. That doesn't work out for all without this benefit of these four qualifications that are being underlined. And therefore, he's saying that who is the guy actually who gets into Vedanta? There are a lot of Shruti Vakyas, there are a lot of great statements in different Upanishads. And therefore, he's saying, like for example, Yobai Bhuma Tad Amritam Ato Anyat Artaha. So, Alpana Nasukam, kam mein koi khush nahi hota hai. There's a beautiful sentence in Chandogya. Why people are interested in Atma Jnana? All else is less than Atma Jnana. Nobody wants to be happy with a little amount of realization. Everybody wants fuller realization. And what is the fullest form of realization? Self-realization. And that's why they're interested. It's a beautiful sentence. And tad yatha iha karmachito lokah khyante evam eva amitra punyachita loka khyante. In this sansara, there's another Upanishadic statement. So you have a house and a car or anything. The best car you buy, you spend a few hundred thousand. If you can spend many $1,000s, if it's a very good sports car, buy it. How long? After 3, 4, 5 years, the price goes down. If you want to resell it, you are not going to get 1/5 of what you have paid, right? So there is a it diminishes the value of whatever you invest in. It diminishes, except for a few things. And here he's saying, same way, you do a lot of punya, you go to Swarga, that is also not sustainable for a long time. As soon as the value is exhausted, they throw you back into earth. You can't be there in Swarga. That is what the text say. So he's saying there is nothing, no punya is permanently going to benefit you. Only one thing that permanently benefits is self-knowledge, self-realization. And therefore, he's sort of clarifying this, that na jayate mriyatava vipashit. The wise is neither born nor it dies, gets liberated. And then several other things. Pariksha lokan karmachitan brahmano nirvedam ayat na nasti akritah kritena. So, he checks what are the benefits. I go to Swarga, I do this. Like, for example, somebody gives you certain investment proposals. You are a rich man, you have some surplus money, you want to invest. So, you call up some investment consultant or some wealth banking guy, as they call it. Then he calls you up. He knows that you have a lot of money. He wants to know from you. So, would you like to invest in this? And you talk to him. Then you want to know the pros and cons. How much am I going to get here? What are the risks? That's what you got to do. End of the day, he say you do this, you do that, but loss will be yours. So you are very concerned. Finally, you decide, okay, no, I'll do this like this. Switch. So I'll do debt funds or something. I don't want to take any risks, whatever. So you get into a market where you don't have high returns, but your losses are limited, right? Now, what is that path where there are no losses? The only path where there are no losses, but no immediate gains, is Vedanta. Low risk, zero risk. That's what Bhagavan says in Bhagavan Krishna. Even if you practice this dharma a little, trayate mahato bhaya, it will save you from great fears. Because even a little of this has great purifying impact on your consciousness. Therefore, this Vairagya Sampadika, these sadhanani, they will create that powerful detachment in you which enables our consciousness to embark on a new journey. That is what is mentioned here. There's a beautiful Akhyayika, I can quote it, one statement, so I'm just mentioning it. When suddenly Yajnavalkya, having had a dialogue with Janaka, comes back with 1,000 cows, and then he declares before his wife, Maitri, who was very smart. The other wife, Katyayani, was like an executive who managed the ashram. She was worldly wise, but Maitri was a liberated soul. So she's asking her husband, where are you going? He's saying, I'm going in search of Amritatva, immortality. And she asks, what about us? No, okay, you have these 1,000 cows, you have these little boys who have come to study. You be the guru mother, be the mother, take care of them, and then they'll take care of you. They're like your children. And then you have a big estate, you have a lot of land, you grow vegetables. What else you need? You have a huge ashram. Take care of it, enjoy. And then Janaka, the king, is there. He'll send you a lot of gifts and everything because you are Guru Ma. What's your problem? Maitreyi is very sharp and asks a question very timely and smartly. What's the question he's saying? Would these things give me Amritatva? And if yes, why are you leaving? He says, no, these things will not give you Amritatva. Then what? He says, look, when a husband loves his wife, he doesn't love her because he loves her, but because he loves himself. When a wife loves a husband, she doesn't love him, but she loves him because she loves herself. In her being able to love herself, her husband has an instrumental role. Without a husband, she will be running around doing things. He knows it's beneficial to live with a man. Same also, the husband is happy with his wife because she gives him food, reminds him of a lot of things that he is likely to forget otherwise, and then they have children to care for. They call it love. But Jagyavalkya says the story ends with this one fundamental thing. The dearest thing to all of us is Atma. We love ourselves. That is the real Priya thing. All other people, whether children or this or that, we call that dear to us. You are our life. You are everything to me. That's a lie. First thing, nothing can be superior to the Atma, and therefore it's only wise to meditate on that Atma. And that is the path for self-liberation. And therefore this whole, this he's saying, Nava are patyuhu kamaya iti arabhya. The wife doesn't desire the husband, she desires herself. Therefore, husband, I am a lady, I'm a wife who has a good husband, who has an able-bodied, smart, handsome, tall, rich guy, right? So you have Arabhya Atmanastu Kamaya Sarva Priyam Bhavati, but actually all these sukhas are finally, they end up with love for the self. So there is a superior desire, the desire to be happy. That is the superior most desire, because you want to be happy. Therefore, you want a car, you want a house, you want a bright sun, you want a pet dog, you want a garden, you want a holiday. Holiday is not the ultimate thing. You want to be happy. That's the ultimate thing. That happiness is about what? It's about yourself. That self is the most desirable. That is dearest to you. That's what I'm saying. Therefore, nasa punaravartate. If you have this qualification, you get this atma tattva, you are not going to come back. And because this is such a secret thing, what are the qualifications that is required? These qualifications are required are elaborated by none other than people of great insight and wisdom. Therefore, they are being mentioned and referred to as Mani Shivihi. Now we will deal with verse number 19. We have a couple of minutes. We'll be able to do one more verse, then we'll stop there. So these four sadhanas, the qualifications, are captured in this next verse. आदौ नित्यानित्यवस्तु विवेकः परिगण्यते इहामुत्रफलभोग विरागस्तद् अनन्तरं समाधिसट्कसम्पत्तिः सम्पत्ति मुमुखित्वमिति स्फुटम्. Now he's mentioning one by one. So it's a little, he has taken the half sloka of verse number 20th also. What is he saying? Ado, the first one is in the beginning, Nitya Nitya Vastu Vivekaha. Viveka Vairagya Samadhamadi Satka Sampati Mumukshitva. These are the four qualifications. What is Viveka is mentioning? Nitya Nitya Vastu Vivekaha. Viveka means what? What is permanent, what is not permanent, what is true, what is false. That is Viveka, that is the discrimination. And there is a beautiful sequencing, and that you need to take note of. Viveka, Vairagya, Shamadamadi Satka Sampati, Mumuksha, desire for liberation. So the first thing, Purva Purva, will be Hetu for Uttara. So Viveka, without Viveka, Vairagya will come? No. Why should you be detached? You like to go to the club and play, and why should you unnecessarily waste your time? Viveka Chudamani, weekend you should be somewhere in a market or a mall. No, because you want to study something, right? So you have a Viveka. Without the Viveka, this detachment in a beautiful evening, instead of going and spending time in a mall, you would not be interested in Vedanta. So Viveka is the positive factor so far Vairagya is concerned. Vairagya is essentially a healthy, wise distance to my mind. That detachment and that you're completely disgusted with the world, and that is painful. That doesn't last too long. Jnana Vairagya is sustainable. It's slow and steady. A lot of studies have happened. There are people who become monks at a very young age, they run away. But you know, the people who become monks at a later age, I'm talking about not India, I'm talking about proper, very well researched studies by departments of psychology in the US, and they have found wonderful studies are there, but they have found that even people who become monks or something in Christianity in their churches, and the people who undergo some spiritual transition or evolution later in life, they don't change suddenly. There is no emotion there. There is a gradual change or transformation happening with the aid and benefit of what? Learning, judgment, and resolve. There is no emotionalism. Like teenager boys and girls run away from their house. Same man and woman, they meet in a meeting or a conference, they appreciate each other's work, they share their cards. They might marry. That marriage has nothing to do with jumping around or doing all kinds of funny things which you may be seeing in some films. Those things don't happen. It's a very wise, thoughtful, quiet kind of a relationship which evolves. Same thing happens in spiritual life. It's a very gradual thing. There's nothing radical about it, nothing fantastic, nothing dreamlike. It doesn't happen in a day. Lord comes and pats your back and says, "Son, I've been looking for you. Why are you wasting your time? And therefore I left home and I'm in jungle looking for God. And then, by the way, he brought me here. These stories you might sell in the market. They might be very popular books to read. Truth of the matter is, Jnana Vairagya happens in a very invisible fashion. It's very slow, it's very steady. And remember, a lot of instances of rises and maybe small falls, and it's a very process of gradual change based on solid understanding. Okay, so you have this Viveka leading to Vairagya. वैराग्यवत एव पुरुषस्य अंतर्बहिरीन्द्रिय निरोध रूप शांति dantihi. So once he has viveka and vairagya, you have a bit of that particular you know detachment also, because you realize that only with discrimination you realize that things which fascinate you don't deserve your attention, and therefore you have, as I call it, a healthy, respectful withdrawal. Not because one is disgusted with anything or you are angry with someone, angry with an experience or a workplace or an experience in life, but because you have a strong positive aspiration for a higher experience of life. Because over a period of time you watch and you are not happy with something, it takes time and slowly sort of things fizzle out before you and you lose interest. The trigger could be a little accidental, but the process always precedes long before you actually take a decision regarding a new spiritual journey. So it's a very slow, steady process. And therefore, if you have Vairagya, then you have that Shama, Dama, all these qualities will come. Ihamutra phalavhoga viragaha. Iha means here, like sansara, car, house, everything. Amutra is Swarga. So, in not in this logo, nor in another logo, life or afterlife, both the ways, dreams, aspirations about a higher state of existence doesn't fascinate you. What does? Nothing fascinates you. There is a strong desire to find out by looking within yourself as to who you are, what you are doing here, where you want to go, and why you here, what are you doing. These are hard questions. Even if you might run away as a sannyasi, you may not necessarily ask yourself these questions. Therefore, the point is not to run away anywhere, but to actually just quietly, thoughtfully live your life and meditate on these questions until and unless you are prepared for the next step. You can always grow where you are. By changing place, nobody grows. So then he's saying samadhi satka sampattihi. After this viraga tadanantaram, then samadama, you have sama, dama, these two most important things. And then after that, what? You have that uparatihi, that withdrawal, vairagya, viveka, vairagya already there, but the uparati happens is a material manifestation of that vairagya. Uparatihi diksha, dvanda sahanam. So we'll discuss that. Each of these will be elaborated. And then you have samadhanam, samadhi, completely focused, meditative. And then shraddha. You want to learn more. You have to have a strong attachment and belief in the new philosophy of life, the text you want to read. Without shraddha, you won't go there. Sansayatma vinasati. Bhagwan has said it. So we'll stop here. We have crossed the time limit anyway, so we will carry forward tomorrow when we meet. And I think we'll be able to finish sadhana chatushtaya tomorrow. Any questions you can ask, or we'll do the Santi Mantra.